That happened in the country in the aftermath of June 25th. The spree, the wave after wave of abductions, extrajudicial killings and the denials by the government. The president spoke after a lengthy silence in the county of Homa Bay on the 27th of December 2024, and here is what he said.
Semekana mambo ya abduction tutakomesha. Ndio vijana wa Kenya waweze kuishi kwa amani na vile vile wawe na nidhamu na wawe wangwana, tuweze kujenga Kenya tukiwa pamoja.
And January came the statement by the Public Service CS JB Muturi, and here is what he said when he visited Nairobi Funeral Home in the midst at the time of the concerns that were raised by parents over their missing kin.
I'm calling upon you now to order an end to these abductions, which you promised, killings, extrajudicial killings, and an open inquiry to examine, inquire into how these things have been happening. We cannot make it normal. We know that these are very young lives that have been taken away.
Waziri, if all these pleas and decries have not been heeded and no outcome out of it, why haven't you considered resigning?
Thank you, Ayub, because you know, this issue of abductions and extrajudicial killings is indeed one of monumental concern to not just myself, but to many Kenyans. And as I spoke on that day, I just put myself in the shoes of those mothers, fathers, relatives of those that have been abducted, some released, and others found dead. Okay. And I imagined what pain they have been going through. On that day, I met some relatives of those whose bodies had been found at the city mortuary. I could see the agony in themselves. And then I imagine what they had been going through for the period that their loved ones and you know, went missing, without trace, with nobody giving any indication as to what was happening. Some of them saying, for instance, Ayub, that they had visited the city mortuary with photographs of their loved ones. Okay. So that in the event that they could be, the bodies would be there, they could be alerted. They would visit, 1 or 2 days later, they even find that the photographs have been removed. It's an extremely agonizing situation. And I felt that, and I still feel, that this matter is one that requires a very candid and open discussion by the topmost level of government. Because we cannot normalize this kind of abnormality. It is so illegal. So, I mean, let me just say this, Ayub. Sometimes in 2023, I was requested to appear at a function at the United Nations headquarters in Nairobi, where Kenya pledged, among other things, to end enforced disappearances. So even as I went through these motions and I spoke about this, I also felt that I was also carrying a burden. That meeting I went to, I was requested through a letter to go and represent His Excellency the President. So the commitments that I was making there were not mine, were not personal, were commitments by the government of Kenya. Forced disappearances. It's the same as these abductions, people disappearing. So surely, you know, it's an extremely agonizing situation for me. And I believe the parents and all those relatives and friends must also, even some of them up to now, must be going through a terrible, terrible situation, experience, very, very painful.
Okay. And at the time when you headed to the UN headquarters, you were the Attorney General.
Indeed.
The president's chief legal advisor.
Absolutely.
And these things have not stopped yet. No stoppage to these abductions, extrajudicial killings. Why then just offer your resignation?
You know, I consider it morally wrong for me to resign, yeah, because I am speaking about constitutionalism. I am speaking against what we, as Kenya Kwanza, when we campaigned, promised Kenyans would never happen at our watch. And therefore, resignation for me would be an act of cowardice.
Yeah.
I would be, people wonder, what kind of person is this one who sees a problem, doesn't speak about it, and merely walks away? It will look very cowardly on my part. And I think for the young people of this republic, I would be letting them down by resigning.
Okay, and you have, going by your proclamations, been placing yourself in the line of fire and provoking the appointing authority, your boss, the president, to fire you. What if that happens?
You know, when I took the oath of office, I was acutely aware of the provisions of Article 132 on the powers of the hiring authority to hire and fire. But Ayub, if I am fired for speaking against abductions and extrajudicial killings in this country, yeah, which is unconstitutional, and which we as a government campaigned and very vehemently, repeatedly vowed that it will never happen at our watch, so be it.
Okay. Let's come back to the pre-election agreement that you had, and we'll be getting back to the statement your party actually issued. When you were getting into this agreement, you knew the persona of the then Deputy President, Dr. William Ruto. I mean, there are a lot of inconsistencies in what he said and what he is doing at this time, including his union with the ODM party. If you knew the person at the time as the Speaker of the National Assembly for 10 years, why did you engage with him politically?
Well, let me say that I have known President William Ruto for even slightly beyond the time that I was Speaker. Because, as you all know, he came to Parliament after the elections of 1997. I came in the by-election of 1999. So, and we have known each other. I have not known President Ruto, or even as Deputy President, as a person who would renege on anything that he promises Kenyans. Yeah? And therefore, we have worked together. When I was Speaker, he was a Deputy President. And you remember, I mean, I don't think whether there's anything that he ever did that showed that President Ruto will not keep his word. I'm not saying that he hasn't kept, but you see, I am raising issues that I say, Mr. President, let us discuss these things. Let us find out from Kenyans what is happening. Can we have something similar to the commission in South Africa, where people, those who have been victims, their relatives, can come forward publicly and speak what has been happening, what they have gone through. I remember, not too long ago, some of them were on this bench, and listening to them, it gives some very, very, painful experiences. And I think it would be a good thing, yeah, if the country could agree to have something, an open inquiry. And I'm not saying that that's the only way, but that's my proposal. I have said it before, remember in my statement at Serena?
Yes.
That this is my proposal.
Okay.
I have not received any counter proposal from any quarter. And therefore, it's only fair that I continue talking about this and saying, look, we cannot allow the country to move in this direction. I say it, yeah, it's not good for the country. We cannot be killing our youth because the youth are the future of the country. Because we could be doing all manner of other things.
Yeah.
But you know, Ayub, if we continue this way, we are going to create a lot of despondency in the country.
Okay. And paragraph 4 of your statement in that January, you said, I have personally suffered as my son Leslie was abducted and disappeared. I wasn't sure whether he was alive or dead, making us anxious and leaving me, my wife, and my family in turmoil. Give us an account, a recap of why Leslie Muturi, your son, was taken.
I have no explanation as to why he was kidnapped by hooded people armed with the AK-47 rifles. He recorded a statement at the Kilimani police station with the DCI. Nobody has come forward to explain why it is that he was kidnapped.
Yeah.
And you know, when I raised this issue in my statement, the only thing that I saw was a challenge thrown at me, which confirmed something that I had always been told, that the matter is still under active investigation.
Okay.
Yeah? Now, being a matter under active investigation meant that it could not be discussed. So the challenge that was thrown to me was, come on, this matter is under active investigation. In fact, you should go and record a statement with the DCI Kilimani. Remember, that statement came in the evening of that Sunday. I stayed on Monday. I thought that maybe the people who are challenging me to record a statement were not serious, or maybe they had acted emotionally. So I didn't go on Monday. I thought maybe they may have made a mistake. But when I waited the whole of Monday, Tuesday I decided, let me do my statement. Because under statement to the police, as you know, is actually evidence. And therefore, I gave a blow-by-blow account of what I knew and happened, and all the people that I contacted. And if you read through my statement, you'll see.
Yeah.
Yes.
And your statement says, standing outside the pavilion, I heard the president ask Nurdin Haji, the Director General of the National Intelligence Service, if he was holding my son. Nurdin confirmed that indeed he was holding my son, and the president instructed him to release Leslie immediately. In fact, you say the president had joked, why would anyone arrest a young person over the Gen Z demonstrations? Give us a recap of how you reached out to the president, and what then happens to the families who you had seen at Nairobi Funeral Home who have no such a privileged access?
You know, first of all, that portion of standing outside the pavilion, I've seen it being misinterpreted by some people. Let me just make it absolutely clear.
Yes.
It is not just me. It is the president and I standing next to one another, next to each other. Because we were joking, we were laughing when I told him the story. And that's why he also jokingly said, well, surely, why would anybody arrest somebody in connection with the Gen Z demonstrations? And he gave me the examples of various leaders, including the gentleman who had just walked away, Mwangi Kiunjuri. He told me some relative of the head of public service. He told me a son of the former regional commander, Bungei. He's the president. It is not that I was hearing the president talking to somebody from a distance. We were standing next to each other. We were just conversing. Not like where you are and where I am.
Yeah.
No, this is too far.
Okay.
We were standing next to each other. Because I've known the president. He's generally a very jovial and entertaining person. So that I was just told him, look, I sent you a text message last night at around 3 a.m. and looks like you have not read it. From my phone, I'm seeing you have not read it. That's when he confessed to me that actually his phone had crashed.
Okay.
Yeah? And it was at that point that he asked one of the boys whether they had corrected the problem with his phone. Mm-hmm. And the young man who brought the phone told him, we have a bit. You can make a call, but you cannot send a message. That's when he asked for the phone and made the call to Nuruddin.
And why Nuruddin Haji? Because the government has other security agencies, for example, the DCI and other government agencies. Why specifically the Director General of the National Intelligence Service? Might the president have known?
Well, let me say this. I am the one who mentioned that it is the NIS. The NIS, because I had done a lot of investigations. A lot of investigations. And remember, even in that statement, I have said that one of the other people whom I've spoken to was Professor Kindiki, who was the CS Interior. And twice on that Sunday, he called and he told me that he had spoken to Nuruddin Haji, who had denied that they were holding my son. But I had information from some other person within the National Intelligence Service that indeed they are the ones who are holding my son. And that's why I did not beat about the bush.
Yes.
And let me say, I'm happy that I did not beat about the bush. Because when I told the president, he called Nuruddin, and indeed Nuruddin replied that indeed they're the ones who are holding him. Now, I put myself in the shoes of those many parents. You remember the old man who was crying in the court? You could see the
We'll talk about the people.
Yes.
Given the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, a taxpayer funded had given numbers. And the proximity you talked about with the president was so close at the time outside the pavilion. What exactly did the head of state tell the Director General of the National Intelligence Service?
Exactly as I've stated put in my statement. You're the one holding the son of JB. In fact, he said JB Muturi. And Nuruddin, I couldn't hear.
Was it in form of a question? Are you holding or you are holding?
Actually, it was like, you are holding the son of Justin Muturi, JB Muturi. That's what he said. He said yes. And he told him, within earshot, that you actually say, you'll be home in the next 1 hour.
So the president was... had know-how, had knowledge that the National Intelligence Service, given the question he posed, was involved in the abduction of Kenyans?
I told him that I had information. Almost definite, very, very certain information from he's a junior officer from the NIS, who actually told me, please, don't beat about the bush. Because if you read through my statement, you will see that the previous evening, I had called the then IG, Kome, twice, and he was telling me, no, we don't have any police operation. He was telling me that he thought it was those were criminals who had hijacked my son. But of course I said, no. We talked to very many people. I tried to call DCI, Mohammed Amin, but unfortunately, his phone was not going through. It would ring and it would not be answered. I suspected maybe Mr. Amin might be maybe out of the country or something like that. Much later that same night, I was given the number of his deputy, James Onyango. If you read my statement, it has all that information. So by the time now in the morning, and even within the night, that's why I called people like Kiprotich.
Said
Kiprotich Mohammed of ATPU. Because there is information that was coming through. But I was calling him to ask him, because the vehicle which was involved in that thing, as shown in the CCTV footage, and thank you to this station, because I got the footage from this station, showed the kind of vehicle. And everybody else that I was talking to was telling me those are the vehicles used by the ATPU. This Prando hard body. And from where it came, the CCTV footage showed it was coming from, near this case, there's a place I think around here called Alfajiri.
Yes, just across the road. Across
the road. So everybody who I showed the photographs, no, don't worry, but we know those must be. That's how I got to start looking for Kiprotich. But when I finally spoke to him in the morning on Sunday, he also denied. Notwithstanding the information I had from several sources. Yes. But let me tell you this, Ayub. As a trained lawyer, I could not put hearsay in my statement. I could not put hearsay, what was being told by other people, because I cannot prove those kind of things. So that's why in my statement, I put in only facts which would constitute evidence.
Okay.
In a court of law.
Let's come back to Leslie. And to come out clean on this, Bwana Waziri, what exactly was Leslie's role at the height of the Gen Z demonstrations, 11th of June, 18th of June, and the historic June 25th events?
From what he has told me, and what I know, is he had absolutely no role. And he told me, he put that in a statement, and also the people who abducted him, when they took him to the place where they took him to some house, where they spent the night, they were still asking him the same questions, and he told them, you have my phone. You have my phone, you can check. You will not see me talking to anybody that could be connected with the Gen Zs. Because he's not a Gen Z himself. He's not a politician. So, but again, I could not put what he told me in my statement, because that should be in a statement, and the police have it.
Okay.
So that's why I say I know. Here, there is not a court of law, so I can say he told me that he had absolutely no role, and that he told the police, or rather his captors, he told his captors who were interrogating him that he had absolutely no role in those things. He knew nothing. I believe his only problem was being friends with the Honorable Mwenje. But I was asking, you are in the company of Mwenje, why then do they go for Mwenje? But to date, nobody has ever come to tell me why they abducted him.
Okay, and what account did he give you? Where was he kept? What kind of questions was he put through? What kind of conditions did he experience when he was held in captivity?
Well, his story, I think, would be a very difficult one for me to narrate here.
Yeah.
Because
you can give us a summary.
He was kept incommunicado. He was blindfolded. Yeah. Taken to some house from where he could hear vehicles go past something that's, according to him, sounded like rubber strips on a road. So he wasn't too far away, according to him. He was given some place to sleep, a mattress, slept there, still blindfolded, handcuffed. And the next day, according to him, some lady even took tea to him and some loaf, I think some slices of bread. When he was released, he was dropped somewhere. He believes it must, I believe it was along Muthaiga Road. And the people there, the vehicle that dropped him, according to him, although he was told not to look back, told not to look back, but he told me mischievously he looked and saw that it was a double cabin, and he was told to walk backwards towards Gertrude, the direction of Gertrude Hospital. But he couldn't get he could not see the number, the registration number of the vehicle. Yeah.
Okay, let's now turn our attention to your portfolio as the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service. How many cabinet proceedings have you skipped so far?
Three meetings.
Why?
The meeting held on 21st of January, the meeting held on 11th of February, and the meeting held yesterday.
And why did you not take part in the cabinet proceedings?
I have, on all those occasions, and let me begin by saying this. First of all, it's like actually mandatory to attend cabinet meetings unless given authority or excused by the chairman of the cabinet, who is the president. But people do get indisposed for all manner of reasons, may not be available to attend. Let me say in my case, I have written and sought to be excused from attending cabinet meetings until or unless the agenda of abductions in the country and extrajudicial killings is formally tabled before cabinet through a cabinet memorandum, so that the cabinet, as the highest decision-making body, is able to express itself and give the country the way forward with regard to those two issues of abductions and extrajudicial killings. I have sought to be excused for those reasons.
Okay, so you are not indisposed, but the raison d'etre is because that must be addressed.
Yes.
Is that not gross insubordination of your role as a state official to failing to attend cabinet?
It is not insubordination when you seek to be excused. Let me say this. The cabinet of the Republic of Kenya is the highest decision-making body. Everybody in this country, from every corner of the Republic, is aware and in many cases discussing this issue of abductions and extrajudicial killings. I have written and said, if Cabinet of Kenya cannot express itself, debate and give a way forward on these issues, then it runs the risk of being condemned as being complicit or as condoning the abductions and extrajudicial killings. It is the highest decision-making body. It must give direction. I'm happy. The president on 27th of December in Homa Bay did that is going to end extrajudicial killings. In a way, acknowledging that those things were happening. What I expected, and I still expect, is that the president now should give direction or instructions, direct the relevant cabinet secretary to prepare a cabinet memorandum detailing those issues, because they are not simple. And you see, failure to discuss this, we run the risk as a country of normalizing these issues. And you never know what could happen. I mean, I just imagine, Ayub, look at what happened, what you have just shown on TV news. What happened after the meeting in Mathare yesterday? The police were nowhere. Innocent motorists were being robbed. Their vehicles being damaged. Innocent pedestrians were also being robbed. It's because with this silence, the silence by all of us not discussing and giving a way forward on this issue is going to give us that kind of result. I've just heard the same thing today.
Yes.
Having been reported around the area around Kangemi or thereabouts. I hope it is not true, because then this thing is mobbing up into something extremely dangerous for this country. Okay.
And the chair of the cabinet is the president.
Absolutely.
And you have written, the secretary never got back to you?
Well, when you write to the chairman of the cabinet, you don't expect the secretary to write. Yeah. I expect that there should be some response, one or other, whichever way. From the addressee, I address the president as the chairman of cabinet, because I acknowledge the fact that he said we are going to end this, but no, it's not enough to end. because they are, as I'm saying, they are parents who don't know where their young ones, their loved ones, sisters and brothers, cousins, and all manner of relatives, friends, colleagues, who don't know where their loved ones are. Yep. Indeed, Ayub, this thing is so serious in my view. I just looked the other day. The MCA from Wajir was held in Communicando for more than 6 months. Suddenly, he reappears, and then the entire country is just quiet. We think it's a normal thing? Surely. We would have to be a different kind of democracy.
Okay. National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah said that JB Muturi was unhappy with his new ministry because it doesn't have opportunities for bribes, which he was used to. What's your response?
Well, Kimani Ichung'wah, I'm not too sure. Kimani Ichung'wah, I'm not too sure on whose behalf he speaks, because I doubt that he even speaks for the people of Kikuyu constituency. But if Kimani Ichung'wah believes that I was receiving bribes, the best thing for him to do is go and report to the relevant authorities for action to be taken against me. Remember, as Attorney General, I was principal legal advisor to government. And I've written many advisories on many subjects in this country. I'm surprised that he has not been able to produce any evidence of any advisory that he can argue that this is skewed. It shows that maybe there's something I was expecting. And you know, the Attorney General advises government. So ministries, departments, including county governments, do write to the Attorney General for opinions. It's not, you know, as Attorney General, I was not advising individuals like Kimani Ichung'wah. I mean, Ichung'wah, I would advise him quite, you know, wisely to go and seek counsel from elsewhere, not from the Attorney General.
Okay, let's come to your time at the State Law Office. And an impression was created under you as the Attorney General that the State Law Office was a lame duck office during your tenure. Are your complaints now, given the lack of remedial measures to the problems you have highlighted, a confirmation of that impression?
When you say lame duck, I don't know, because I on a daily basis gave advice to various government ministries and departments and agencies. Remember, once the AG has given us advisory, it's up to the advisee to implement the advisory. If they choose not to, then other organs of oversight, state organs of oversight, like the Auditor General and others, would come to deal with the issue. Because when they do the audit, they will always, before you did this, did you seek the opinion of the Attorney General? Where is it? Where did you follow it? That's the way you operate. You see, as Attorney General, you cannot give advice and then start following up to go and find out, why have you not followed this? That's not the job of the Attorney General. The Attorney General does not implement his or her opinions. You give the opinions and your work ends there. And let me say, there are many opinions, many. And I do know, for instance, and I could give you a very good example. Ayub. Very early at the beginning of this administration, an issue did arise about certain officials sitting in cabinet. And I was asked to give an advisory. And I said, look, if you read the Constitution, Article 152, the cabinet comprises of the president, the deputy president, the Attorney General, and not more than 22 and not less than 14 cabinet secretaries. The only other person who is supposed to sit in cabinet, apart from those 25, is the secretary to the cabinet. Yeah? I did advise, and I said, look, even the gentleman who sits as head of public service is not a member of cabinet. And I gave that advisory because people from the President's Advisory Council were being invited to sit in cabinet. Your former colleague, who is my good friend, Hussein Mohammed, used to sit. Another very good friend of mine, the current Director General of Communications Authority, was being invited to sit in cabinet. Another one, you know the former Secretary General, Malala.
Yes.
You remember, in fact, some people went to court. And those who went to court, they were actually almost agreeing with my advisory opinion. But you see, you give your opinion and you leave it to the people you have advised to observe.
Okay.
If they don't, there will be other institutions to deal with the issue.
Yeah. So
because that could even include people going to court and arguing that cabinet decisions made in the presence of some of those people may be unconstitutional because of the participation of people who are not members of cabinet.
Okay. So the current Director General of the Communications Authority, State House spokesperson, and the former UDS Secretary General was sitting in cabinet against your advice.
And the chairman of the Advisory Council.
That is David Ndi?
Yes.
Okay. And when your advice was sought and you said that it's untenable for them to be part of the cabinet proceedings, who gave you that response specifically?
I was not given a response. My advice was sought. And I wrote. In fact, I think the letter came from the Secretary of the Cabinet. My assumption then was that she had been instructed to find out, which I duly gave in accordance with the law and the Constitution. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So but I'm just trying to say, once you have given your opinion, and it is within the confines of the law, you don't go to now start asking people, why are you doing this? Why are you doing? You expect that they have read your advisory.
Okay. And what more advice did you accord and was never heeded or was never followed up?
Oh, there are quite a number of instances, but you can even advise people.
Yeah.
If you look at, for instance, some advice that I wrote to the Ministry of Health around, I think around 23rd or 28th of August 2023, when I saw the cabinet memorandum, which forwarded, I think, 4 bills, the primary health data, some data, those 4 laws. Yeah. First of all, I pointed out that we had not received any drafting instructions about those bills. I also gave an advisory that these bills appear to be infringing on constitutional provisions relating to level 2s and level 3s and level 4s of hospitals being devout functions. So I pointed out quite a number of issues in that, and but of course, because we saw bills, we wondered, where did they come from? Who drafted these bills? But you give your advice, and you leave it at that. The next thing, you see, the bills are already in Parliament. They're being discussed. And if you recall, Ayub, I remember, I'm a very ardent, viewer of Citizen TV. I remember seeing governors raising issues with those bills. In fact, specifically, I remember the then vice chairman of the Health Committee of the Council of Governors, Governor Muturi Njuki. I saw him on TV raising a lot of issues, and several other governors. But I said, well, I had given my advice. So you leave the rest to the other institutions to deal with it, including mounting court challenges.
All right. So you're talking about the Social Health Authority?
That and those others. There was one that created that, and there was another one about it. There were 4 bills.
Yeah, the 4 bills that the enabling legislation, which was signed into law on the 19th of October 2020.
Yet I firmly believe that as we campaigned, the issue of universal health care was an important one. I still believe it is. That indeed, government should strive and ensure that we provide it to citizens.
Yeah.
But of course, you have to also do it within the confines of the law. That's all I was arguing.
Yeah. So that is what we are talking about as well. And given the report recently issued by the Attorney General, and to quote you on the 5th of March, about 7 days ago, you have said, as can be discerned from our advisories, we urged caution at every turn in order to ensure the input of every relevant player in the process. What happened then from the onset when this matter came before Cabinet and you are the Attorney General? And this is what you said a week ago about the healthcare program by the government.
As I said, even that, I advised caution and that let us involve everybody who needs to be involved at every stage. I was not dealing with the issues about, whether it is necessary to give universal health coverage. That I believe in, and it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I was just advising caution on what was being proposed to be done with the bills, including even how the cabinet memo was still developed, because there were issues around there. But I said, as long as you are able to correct this, then you may proceed to do the rest. But please, make sure that this and this and this is adhered to.
Yeah. What were the specific issues that you call for the adherence?
It's a long time indeed.
Yeah.
And because,
just in summary, probably.
Because first of all, my surprise is that we were being brought bills which had already been drafted. We had even not been given instructions to draft the bills. So even the staff in the legislative drafting department of the AG's office were stunned by these drafts, because there are too many issues that needed to be cleaned up. And I think what happened thereafter was something like firefighting. I believe at some point the Council of Governors, I think they may have been called and told that issues will be sorted out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even as we said we were going to roll it out, my assumption was everything was put in place.
So what was the source of these bills? I mean,
remember part of they came from the Ministry of Health.
Okay.
Yeah. Even my letters, the ones I'm talking about, in fact, I was writing to, I think one of them I remember writing to the PS, and another one writing to the CS, then Nakumicha. And it was not something reprimanding them, it's just to tell them, please do this. And remember the other thing that the AG would always do, because you just say, please observe the law. Because we did not know what else they intended to do with those bills.
Okay, so let's get this process by process then, Waziri. Where do bills that are introduced in Parliament emanate from? 1. 2, the 4 health bills you talked about and the affordable housing bills, did you, as the Attorney General, approve?
The affordable housing bill, I can tell you, after sections of the 2023 finance, people are being abducted and held in Communicando for days on end.
Okay. Waziri, many thanks. A lot to talk about when we get back from the break, including the damning report by
takes up the decision, and the board owns the decision. Yeah.
Okay. Any other advice that you gave government and was ignored?
I cannot say ignored, or maybe people may have acted differently, but I can't quite remember. There's, sometimes there are too many things. Like I said, on a daily basis, and that's why, in that office, you'd always find me there at 6 a.m. because there's a lot of reading to be done, and you've got to be careful that what you append your signature to is really sound in law and constitutionally. So once you have done, you have no personal interest in those kind of in matters of that nature. I'm just able to remember a few of those because they have exercised the minds of Kenyans for a long time.
And Waziri, one of the outcomes of the June 25th protests was the cabinet casualties. You included, but the AG, there is a provided for mechanism in the process of the removal of AG from office. What really happened? Can you tell us, did the president inform you about his decision to move you from the state law office to the public service portfolio?
Well, let me say, when I came from a meeting that was chaired by the PCS, Musalia Mudavadi, at Kenya School of Government that day, I just found that there was going to be some press statement by the president. And so, like all other Kenyans, I decided to watch. And as the president began reading, because the press conference period kept being pushed forward until the time when the president came on TV. And so as he read about dismissing the entire cabinet. Then I think many of you would remember, it's including the Attorney General under Section 12 of the Office of the Attorney General Act. Sitting where I was seated in my private office, I said, oh no, who has advised the president this way? He has made a mistake. Under Section 12, to remove the Attorney General under that section, you have to appoint a tribunal, because you have to establish whether the Attorney General you are dismissing or you propose to dismiss is of unsound mind, infirmity of the body, has breached the Constitution or any other law, or is bankrupt, or is of unsound mind. So, right on like that, I said, oh gosh, who has advised the president this way? This is wrong, because it will cause some problems. And I can say, much later when we had occasion to discuss, I did raise that issue, that because there was already a rumor and talk that there was going to be a major cabinet reshuffle. Okay. But it was said to be a reshuffle, not a dismissal. Of course, when he said dismissing the entire cabinet, I thought Musalia Mudavadi was a member of the cabinet. He belongs to the category of the 22, but he was left. But somehow the AG was included, and I thought there was a mistake. Yeah. So the mistake was corrected, and because I did not want to bother the president, we agreed that the best thing is to proceed properly is for the Attorney General to resign under Section 11 of the Office of the Attorney General Act, which is the correct procedure. Even if the president had actually mentioned to me that I would want to remove you, I would just have told him, no, you know what, I don't have an issue. I would just do a resignation. It's a better way, because I remember asking, now do I go tell him, do people think that I am incompetent? Am I of unsound mind? Or am I bankrupt? Or which provision of the Constitution have I breached? Or which law have I violated, both local or international? Okay. So, but finally the matter was resolved that way, that I had to, the best thing. Yes. And I felt in good faith, the best thing is for me to help the president, not to cause him any agony about that proceeding under Section 12, and to resign. And that's why that matter was corrected.
Okay, when we get back from the break, we'll talk a lot more about, but you bring in a very pertinent point. If a gentleman's agreement would have resulted in your resignation, why doesn't the catalogue of human rights violations that you have listed don't contemplate your resignation?
Because, let me tell you, once again, I feel that resigning, in fact, I think I'm repeating, to resign because of raising the issue of abductions and extrajudicial killings would be a cowardly act on my part. I feel that the best is for me to state it while still serving as cabinet secretary, because it is not personal for me. I said this earlier, it is not personal.
Yes.
I just feel that this thing must be, we must bring it to a close in a manner that is lawful, either through a commission, a judicial commission of inquiry, open, so that people come and speak. Maybe there are people who may have noticed some of the abductors, who may know them. You've heard recently from some of those people who had been abducted, saying that they were warned not to speak about it. I mean, surely we need to, we must get this thing through some process that brings some level of closure in a dignified way, and in a manner that respects both the law and the constitution.
Okay. Yeah. And Waziri, if then the cabinet never schedules to discuss the matter that you have pointed out of abductions, killings, and enforced disappearances, does then that mean that you will never attend cabinet proceedings? How tenable is that?
I think let's wait and see, Ayub, because I have now called for the matter to be placed on the agenda. Yeah? I have called on the president to direct the relevant cabinet secretary to prepare a cabinet memorandum that the entire cabinet can discuss and debate and give a way forward. Just like they always give dispatches. That's not to say that I'm not working, even without attending cabinet. Ayub, let me just give you an example. Yesterday in the dispatch that came from State House, you saw that there's some businesses that were approved by the cabinet, including the draft bill on human resource management and development,
okay.
The internship and volunteerism policy, and the regulations about civil servants revolving fund, which are to help serving civil servants to apply for some soft loan from that fund, which is already in existence, to go for further training. Those are presented before the cabinet subcommittee. The cabinet subcommittee chaired by the deputy president. I had made my presentation on those things and were passed. Even at the cabinet meeting in Kakamega, my business from the Ministry of Public Service on in-service, mandatory in-service training for civil servants for various cadres was passed and approved by the cabinet. Because once you have given your presentation to the more technical, the subcommittee, at the subcommittee level, you are able to go into, to take deep dives in various proposals that come there.
Okay. And
you are able to discuss them much more, deeply than you would at full cabinet.
Okay.
So work in the ministry has not stalled. It continues to move.
Okay, Waziri, beyond that, what you have brought up is the sanctity of human life. And there are two possibilities. The first one is if cabinet never discusses the same that you want to be discussed. What then happens going forward? Because you have pegged your presence in cabinet to the subject matter that you have raised. What then happens next?
I believe that, you know, maybe this is the first time members of cabinet are aware that I've been raising these issues. Yeah, it may be through this medium. Some of them are hearing for the first time that that's the issue that I've been raising, because they might not have known, because you know, when a cabinet member does not attend cabinet, the only person from whom authority and excuse is sought is from the chairman. So I hope the cabinet, in its corporate stature, as a corporate body, the highest decision-making organ, can seize this moment and reflect on the possibility of it as cabinet being accused of complicity, as I said earlier, in this matter of abductions and extrajudicial killings. Why did you keep quiet as cabinet when these things were happening? And should these issues, these things continue, where are we taking Kenya? Are we comfortable as members of cabinet to see our young people being daily kidnapped and in some cases being killed? In fact, we risk you know, situations like the one we saw, the former member of parliament for Nandi Hills, Alfred Ketel. You saw, in fact, he was captured by your own crew. Yeah. He was the attempt to kidnap him was during broad daylight. He was with his wife and children. I had the kids screaming. I mean, surely, are we comfortable seeing a situation like that happen in this country? Okay, are we also sure, here, given that kind of thing, Ayub, yes, that we are still calling people to come and invest in this country? But this is a country where people are being abducted and held in Communicado for days on end. Okay. Waziri, many thanks. A lot to talk about when we get back from the break, including the damning report by the Auditor General. Then what happens next, given the advice that you accorded at the time and the breach of procurement laws? According to Dr. Nancy Gathungu, the place of independent institutions, the KICC Pact, and going forward, of course, we'll be sampling the feedback from the viewers who are following this program here on JK.